Welcome back, everybody, into Bill's Chat. I am Josh McCarty. With me tonight, as always, is Luka. Luka, what do we do with this game?
What a question to lead this one off. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I only imagine you gave me a little bit of a snippet of how the halftime show went, but
Crash
it
out
yeah,
on YouTube for your listening pleasure.
yeah, it was definitely an experience, and I think I will say shout out to the living room I was in watching this. I was all of one door over from my own house as my neighbor was having a diaper party. They are expecting and had the guys over and stuff like that. And shout out all those guys who know, including my buddy Nick and Alex. But it was an experience watching that game with all of them. And I will say, Josh, you know how I always talk about and I preach, hey, the opening drive, not going to panic. Even the opening half, I've gotten to the point where it's like, don't panic. It really tested me. This game very much tested me, but I comparatively to most of the other individuals, I will say in that living room, I would say I was on the cooler side. And I just want to thank the entire Bills team for rewarding all of us, including myself, for being patient. And we'll just assume we were all patient and showing the F up in the second half and making things happen. And also showing New England, Mike Vrabel, everyone else in the league that Josh Allen's a pretty special quarterback, Josh. He's pretty damn good. And it doesn't matter what you do against him. He is still in that game. I mean, at one point, there was a 6.4% chance to win this game. And we all know what the result was.
We sure do. And when you look at this game, it really was a tale of two halves because there were so many moments in the first half that just had you furious. Like McDermott not challenging calls, Brandon Cooks dropping a ball that hits him in the hands that could have gotten the Bills off to a good start, Joshua Palmer hearing his name called for the first time in what feels like 2 months, committing a false start on a 3rd and 4, which ultimately led to a 3rd and 9 sack. And then for me, it was even the little things. It was the end of the half sequence where the Bills are on defense. The Patriots have 6 seconds left. They're at the Bills' 30-yard line and they have one timeout and they're in the shotgun. And everybody that's watched football their entire lives know they're not going to throw the ball to the end zone here. They are trying to gain yards to set up a better field goal. Everybody except the Bills, apparently, who lets them break off a 15-yard run to make that a chip shot field goal. And just little things like that were driving me insane today, which led to the crash out on the halftime show. And then can't even believe my eyes, Luka. 4 straight drives to open the second half. Touchdown, 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 touchdown. And it wasn't even that was the most surprising. It was the fact, and you mentioned this off air, I'll let you get into it. Something happens to this defense at halftime. It's no longer a, hey, this is kind of cute. It's a, they have something that happens at halftime. And now you're starting to get to a point where you can kind of bank on it.
This game, and we've talked about it at length, Josh. You know, it's halftime adjustments. McDermott might be one of the best at going into halftime, trusting whatever staff he has up above that might be seeing things, even trusting his own two eyes to then evaluate what he just witnessed, the predictable nature of whatever he put on the field for that first 30 minutes. And I say that tongue in cheek on purpose. And just go 1, 2, 3, ABC. This is what we're going to do. This is what we can do here. This is what we can do at opportunities. And in today's game, by design, to see the change and to see it, I would probably say I recognized it maybe 3, 4, could have even been 5 times where you were seeing this team come out defensively in nickel. You would see the linebackers be a little imbalanced when it comes to where they were in relativity to the line. And then all of a sudden a switch would happen, whether it was the linebacker who was crashing would drop back or even shift over entirely. And then you would even see that side end, opposite side end of the rushing linebacker then drop back into coverage, whether that was Bosa, which is exactly what happened on that key 4th down fail for the Patriots, or, the stop for the Bills. You were just seeing this kind of rotational pressure happen. And that was something we were not seeing, I do not believe, remembering in the first half. And that was a clear adjustment or a clear design that McDermott, I believe, really enjoyed, to be like, hey, this is what we can do. This is how we can confuse maybe at the line. We see something here. We see a weak side here. We're going to actually flip and overload that side. That's how we're going to do this. And the proof's in the pudding. It worked so well to just absolutely neutralize everything the Patriots are doing in the second half. I mean, their drives. They had a 3-play -6 yards punt. They had a 7-play 38-yard drive that ended in an interception. That was essentially an arm punt. You had a 14-second drive that was a touchdown. Everyone knows what that one was. And then a minute 35 drive that was 3 plays, -2 yards, and punt. That was effectively all of their drives in the second half until that final drive where they didn't convert on downs and we essentially locked the game up. It's this is the kind of game, the tale of two halves, where you can almost sympathize with both the Fire McDermott crowd for the first half and then also just be like, this is what are you going to get that's going to get you something better than this? Because to have the ability to do what you've done, where it's a high school defense in the first half, and then something just flipped in the second half and becomes, I'm not going to sit here and say championship caliber. You don't completely lose your edge thanks to AJ Epinesa. Shout out you, bud. On a 65-yard touchdown and just overload everything too much to give up something in a crucial situation in the fourth down because you're a championship caliber defense. But clearly a message was driven to them and they got it, where it's like, this is how we can be successful. And they did their job. That's how you come back from 21 down, from 24-7 down. You just have to sit there, be patient, adjust a little bit, do your job, get the ball back to Josh Allen as fast and much as possible, and let him just do his thing. And next thing you know, you got 28 points in the second half. You only allow one score, and you come out on top 35-31. Just an absolute beautiful display of adjusting at halftime, recognizing what you need to do to get it over the line. And even on top of it, offensively, props to this team for not just going, F it, it's not working in the run game, even against a weak, rushing defense being the Patriots. They still had a plan of attack with that. They didn't let it get away and just put it all on Josh Allen. And James Cook, 22 carries later, 170 yards. I mean, this team in this game should show you that they are capable of making that run if they can just get into a dance with a good, healthy roster. It's when you have Josh Allen, when you have James Cook, when you even have that ability to go into halftime and really assess things for what you need to do to get it over the line, you always have a chance, no matter how bad the deficit is, you have a chance in the end. And hopefully more than not, you get over the line. And this was just yet another beautiful example of all of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier the win probability. And I found that interesting because the Bills have had several instances this season where they've had win probabilities dip down below 10 and they come back and win. The Ravens game to start the season is the one that first comes to mind. But I'm going to ask you this, Luka. We all have that internal win probability, not necessarily the official one in Vegas, but when your belief gets to a point of, oh, I think they're going to win now. Like as a fan, I think you have a good feel for the team you watch. Sometimes I think it does skew to be a little bit negative. I mean, you always kind of maybe think that there's a gray cloud over your head. But Luka, as you're watching this game play out, as the Bills get down 21-0 and then make it 21-7 and then it's 24-7 and then they crawl back into it and eventually take a 28-24 lead before giving up the big Henderson run, but then they come right back down and score again. What was the moment where your internal win probability said they're winning this game?
Ooh, I would honestly put it. I'm trying to look at these drives here. I would honestly probably put it. I'd probably put it basically after the 3 and out following the opening second half touchdown. You could sense something was happening already at that moment in time. Offensively, I liked what I saw there. Obviously, you only needed 44 yards to score in the first place, thanks to a big kick return to kind of spark it off. And then from there, you kind of just created chaos with the Patriots, which you hadn't really done all game up until that point. That I was like, okay, there's something here. There's something different happening right now in front of me. And I guess I could say after that 3 and out, but I'll put the touchdown drive after that, where it was again, I saw what happened after that first drive. You did it again in an 11-play, 65-yard drive for another touchdown. When that touchdown happened, Josh, I would honestly probably tell you, I was like, we're going to win this game. I trusted and believed in Josh Allen at that moment and believed in what McDermott is capable of in the second half, that I was like, I don't think we're going to get outclassed in this game when it comes to coaching, like we kind of saw in this first matchup between these two teams. I was like, I think there's something different here and there's a point to prove, and the Bills are playing as if they're going to win this effing game. So I'd probably, you know what, let's do that. Let's, after the second touchdown in the second half to make it, what would that be, 24-21? That would
Yeah.
be when I was like, we're going to win this effing game.
So for me, it was the next touchdown, and it was everything that went into it because after the score that you just referenced, the Bills get it within one score. And I think even though you're watching the Bills build momentum, you are kind of bracing for the dam to break, either on defense or offense. And when the Bills get the ball back again, and you're like, huh, that was the Trey White pick, right? This is where Trey
Yeah.
White intercepts the ball over Matt Collins. And
Yeah.
you're kind of watching that replay, hoping that he dropped it because that really did set the Bills up with poor field position. And then they get the ball back and you're bracing for, okay, the offense has been on fire. This would be fitting if you want to live in a negative headspace, that they do everything they need to do to just get close enough. But now when they have a chance to take the lead, then they kind of fart all over themselves. But no, they didn't. And to your point, you brought this up off the air. They actually went over 100 yards on this drive because of penalties. And it was at the moment where Josh Allen runs the ball into the end zone and he starts to go into his like super enthusiastic celebration. And then the refs call it back with a holding. And now it's 3rd and 15. And you're thinking, I guess we're going to tie it here, which feels like such a loss after you just felt that. And then Josh freaking Allen rolls out to his right. You've seen this a million times. That linebacker in coverage has to make a decision. Do I run forward and try to tackle the quarterback? Do I run backwards and try to stay in coverage? He runs forward. Josh Allen hits a window to Dawson Knox. Congratulations to Dawson Knox. 2 touchdowns and on the birth of his child this weekend. And to me, that was the moment that I told myself, Josh Allen's not losing this game. Now, I still recognize the fact that the Patriots could very easily come back down and score a touchdown. And what's very interesting to me is the way this game played out just like 13 seconds, except for the ending. You get this situation where Josh Allen makes a long touchdown pass. If you remember, when the Bills took the lead, look at me bringing up 13 seconds on a happy post-game show. When the Bills took the lead in 13 seconds the first time, it was a 4th down conversion to Gabe Davis.
Yep.
And now the Bills had the lead. You could have gone up to go to the bathroom, and by the time you come back, the Chiefs have the lead again. Because it was the first or second play, a little dump off to Tyreek Hill. Nobody's up to tackle him, and he's gone. And that's what it felt like happened with Henderson. He goes to the right. They bottle him in, but Epinesa doesn't hold his contain. And then Henderson, and actually Harrison also probably should have held it there too.
Yeah.
Henderson's around the outside, and you know he's gone. He's got speed for days. One of the fastest guys in the league. And it just felt like you worked so hard to go 91 plus yards to score, and they get a cheap one. And that was a cheap one. Henderson's a dynamic athlete, but that's a cheap touchdown. Mm-hmm. But just like 13 seconds, Josh Allen's like, all right. He had that look in his eyes like, I'll do it again. And he did it again. Only unlike 13 seconds, the Bills defense stood up and closed the deal. And you've seen enough from Josh Allen now, Luka, where you can tell when he has that look in his eye, and you can just tell that they might lose this game, but they're going to go down swinging, and it's not going to be because of him.
Honestly, I should have answered your question originally, Josh, with when the camera showed Josh Allen puking on the sideline, that's when I knew he won this game. Because clearly his adrenaline, and I said it multiple times, and I was like, his adrenaline has to be through the effing roof right now. Like, for him to have those puke, it's well documented. He, of course, does this pregame. That's his pregame thing. So it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that he's puking in general. But for him to then, I bet you during that 13-second game and all of that going on and how wired we saw him during that situation, I bet you there was a puke happening at some point in time that was not caught on camera. Like, he gets to that zone you're mentioning here where it's like something's going on internally that has his adrenaline at 120. He is just locked TF in, and he is ready to do whatever is needed of him to get over the finish line. And as I love you actually pulling that game back, because I didn't think about it until this very second when you bring it up. And it is exactly that. That is so spot on to think. It's like you work so hard to finally get that lead, and that cheap touchdown follows. And it's like, oh, we got to do this all over again. Luckily for us, it's not like, you had to do it in a minute and 10 seconds. You had plenty of quarter to go, and Josh Allen gets it done. And then it's like, all right, defense, please, let's not screw this up anymore. And to their credit, they didn't. It's a beautiful thing. Imagine being a football fan, Josh, and Josh Allen is not your quarterback. I don't know what that feels like, and I'm so thankful for it. I love having that absolute monster dog being your quarterback, leaving you get a win and leaving the great respected coach on the other side who wanted this to be that hat and t-shirt game, just going, that's why he's 6'5", 250 pounds, can throw everything, can run everything, and they pay him $60 million. I'm going to fact check you there, Vrabel. It's $55 million a year. We get to save that $5 million for, I don't know, Josh Palmer, but so it's like you leave these people speechless of, this is why they do it to everyone. It's not just us. It's like, yeah, because 17 is just out of this world special. And it's for all of those years, Josh, where it just wasn't great to watch this team and had us just watching good football elsewhere and whatnot. It's like, boy, it is fantastic to know 17, who strikes fear and makes everyone feel worthless in the game of football, is in fact your quarterback as a fan. And that is just, enjoy every second of it while you have it, especially at its full power, because we all know, and not to get down here, but it's like eventually, I remember, I think it was on WGR, they were having a conversation. They're like, what is Josh Allen going to look like when he starts to not be able to run anymore? Like, what are we going to get out of that? It's like, we're going to have Josh Allen for a long time, one would like to hope. It's like, but what is that going to look like? It's like, enjoy it at its peak right now. This is out of world special. And I can't enjoy it anymore enough. And I wish I could say I feel bad for the rest of the league, but I don't. It feels great to have this being a Bills quarterback for the foreseeable future, for the rest of our time as fans, and the rest of his time, I should say, because we'll probably extend past his playing career, of course. But
I sure hope so.
Tip of the cap to just every Bills fan out there having the luxury of Josh Allen being their quarterback.
And we all know the but there. And the but is they have not won a Super Bowl with one of the best players, if not the best player in the league. And you just, as the years continue to go by, we all start, that voice in the back of our head starts to get a little louder of, are they really not going to get a Super Bowl with Josh Allen? We're not there yet. And this might be their best look at it, even though it's not the best version of these Buffalo Bills. Luka, I thought today was a bit of a throwback for the Bills. One, you had Stephon Diggs and you had Mac Hollins on the other side. By the way, there was some drama with Mac Hollins, I think, today. I didn't see it, but apparently he was talking a lot of trash to Bills players. And I've seen some chatter on Twitter. I have to look into it, but wonder if people are still loving Mac Hollins as much as they did before. But you had Tre'Davious White. If you didn't know, Christian Benford didn't play in the game. He had a toe injury pop up on Thursday, and they held him out. Tre'Davious White played all the snaps opposite Max Harrison. And Tre'Davious White, for all the grief we gave him early in the year, has come up massive for this team. And in a lot of ways, he's held on to a job when Max Harrison was playing very well. Yeah, Tre'Davious White playing well. You had Jordan Phillips out there. You had Jordan Poyer playing well. But Luka, Matt Milano looked like vintage Matt Milano. And there was a sequence where on the sideline, Ramondre Stevenson and Matt Milano get into a little bit of a jawing match, which a jawing match is not going to be started by Matt Milano. If he had it his way, he'd never say a word. And the replay shows pretty clearly Ramondre Stevenson throws a punch. I do wonder if that will lead to a suspension. I know that if you get caught spitting on camera, it'll lead to a suspension. Travion Henderson owners can certainly hope. But Matt Milano reacts just like anybody else would. He shoves him. And it's like offsetting personal foul penalties. At the time, if you're annoyed of it by a Bills fan, Yeah, because our guy got punched and he just retaliated like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And all of a sudden it's offsetting penalties. But what happened after that, Luka, was it's like a light came on in Matt Milano's head of I can
Yeah.
still be that dude to take over this game. Matt Milano, 2 sacks and a forced fumble, and led this team in tackles with 9. I've been saying all along, this isn't like some great genius point. Somebody on this Bills defense, as currently constructed, is going to have to play a little bit over their skis for this defense to get to the Super Bowl. If Matt Milano can dip into the fountain of youth and play like that in January, that is a massive, massive piece. It's one game. He has not looked like that all year, but to see that club is still in his bag was very encouraging.
If we get that version of Matt Milano for the remainder of the season and whatever postseason run is to follow, I will send Ramondre Stevenson flowers personally. I'll try to reach out to whoever I need to, send him whatever that, and then give him an IOU of whatever variety, because that punch seemed to knock something loose and provide us a Matt Milano that we haven't seen since he was, I don't know if he was carted off the field or was walked off the field in London against the Jags. That's how long it has felt since we have seen a Matt Milano performance, anything like that. When you still had this all pro level guy playing great, doing his job, and then just injury after injury after injury, multiple pec injuries, I believe, in that stretch. Just so many things going on that you can somewhat understand why his play hasn't been there, but it's also been brutal when you need someone there. And we're just like, thank God we have Shaq Thompson out there at least. We needed something else. And yeah, if Ramondre Stevenson slaps him across the face and it jarred something, it's like taking the boulder off of the all pro rock that was there and being like, oh, I can still be that guy. I can still be that, what was it on Bussing with the Boys? I believe they said that boy Olive, like, when
Yeah.
they were talking about that whole car, it's like, yeah, he's a little different. It's like, yeah, no, it's that Matt Milano is a beautiful thing. I am not actually sitting here expecting it for the remainder of the season, but
Mhm.
at a perfect crucial time when it was absolutely necessary, that freak out there, 9 tackles solo, total 10 total, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, like all of those things, just unbelievable to see him step up in a crucial game that it's crucial more for mojo than anything else, in my opinion. Like,
Mhm.
inevitably, the Bills are most likely still the 5 seed or 6 seed, depending on how things work out, whatever. But to feel like, as you said, that club's still in the bag, to feel like we can still do this, you have Josh Allen going to the postseason. Not any other team in that entire postseason of the AFC wants to see Josh Allen in their house. And then it's like, oh, by the way, this defense can step up. Matt Milano can still be that dog. Like Trey White can still, he's still got things in his bag of tricks to make things work, even when his legs seem to be failing him half the time. Like there are still things to be done there that it's like, ah, props to Matt Milano, man. What a performance. What a thing. And that it's just another thing in December football, Josh, that I think fans should at least feel better about, that a run can still happen for this team. Obviously, there's the primary reason, but there's other things out there in this roster that can still get this thing over the finish line.
And we've talked about Josh Allen is the heartbeat of this team. And that goes so much more than, oh, he's the quarterback. But as he goes, as he plays with that swagger and that confidence, the rest of the team follows suit. And I thought Carl Jones, who's one of the Bills beat writers, made a great comparison. He's like, this is like the 2018 Cleveland Cavaliers. And if you're not a basketball fan, fine. That was basically LeBron James putting a bunch of players on his back and carrying them to the finals. And I think that's a little bit, disrespectful to what the Bills have here collection wise. I think sometimes this lack of weapons gets looked at as like a lack of roster. They have a decent roster, but Josh Allen is the engine that makes this roster go. So I think when you look around the landscape of the AFC with no Mahomes for sure, no Burrow for sure, both of those guys were officially eliminated today. And then Lamar Jackson, basically on life support, hoping to catch up to the Steelers in the AFC North because that path as a wild card is basically closed. This is as open as it could be for the Bills. And then, Luka, when you turn your attention to the playoffs, the odds still say that the Bills are probably going to be a wild card team. Just for those listening, for the Bills to win the division, they have to either win out or catch the Patriots in record. So if they don't win out, then the Patriots have to lose too. But one of those losses has to be to an AFC East team. So next week's game against Baltimore will help in the win-loss column, but if the Patriots lose to Baltimore and the Bills win out, that's not enough to get the Bills the AFC East. So it still feels like it's likelier than not that the Bills will be a wild card. And what comes with that is going on the road. And we have seen the Bills play their worst football this season on the road. We saw them get blown out in Miami after beating the Dolphins here. We saw them lay an absolute egg in Atlanta against a very, very mediocre Falcons team. They lost to Davis Mills and the Houston Texans. And in the first half today, it sure felt like, wow, the first matchup against the Patriots was a slugfest and you lost at the buzzer. And then this one, it's a knockout in the first half. And I think, if anything, more than anything, this win could catapult this Bills team to a belief that maybe they can be road warriors. Maybe they can be that team that can stack it together on the road, because this team is not going to have home field advantage, most likely. And they're going to need to have that business trip attitude. And getting a win like this in their pocket against a team that had won 10 in a row can absolutely catapult them to what they need, which is the ability to win 3 in a row in January to get to the Super Bowl.
It feels, the point you're bringing up here, I love, because it feels like I could even stretch back to Steelers halftime. That Steelers halftime, that could probably be that turning point like moment where it's like something clicked with this team where they're like, F it. We can do this. We can do this on the road. And of course, you saw in the second half what happened in that game. And again, it was almost like a reminder was needed in this one where it's, nothing was really going their way early on. The Patriots were in their bag and understanding what game plan they wanted to come out with and execute and attack the Bills with. And then from there, they went in at halftime. They're like, you remember what we did again in the Steelers game? Obviously, there's specific things they want to do here, but it's like, remember that. We went in, figured it out. We can do this. We can play on the road. We can be us even on the road. And when they came out, made those adjustments, did their thing, and continued to play their ball, played, it wasn't as bully ball like, but still stuck with the run, figured it out, kept the ball in Josh Allen's hand for the most part. There was a couple times they might have taken it out with screens or whatever play calling. That's like, I'd rather you just trust Josh Allen to do something with that. But overall, it was just, they know who they are and they trust everyone across the board to get the job done. And that's something you need to have to make that run, like you said, to win those games in January, to hopefully get you to that game in February if you want to be there. And I would say, following this game, Josh, the road dynamic scares me tenfold less. Like I am much less concerned about a path on the road for this team, because there is something deeper than, road versus home with this team. And just, I don't want to use the word culture, but I can't think of a better word. There is a culture and an atmosphere and a message clearly across everywhere that everyone understands what is needed to get over the line. And even today's game, it was case in point how important that is. One team on the field today had been there, done it, has made deep runs, understands what it takes in the grind that it is to get to where you want to go. And the other team is very new to this thing. And the team that's been there and done it had a deficit in front of them and still recovered and got it over the line. That is where that value steps up. And I bet you a guy like Vrabel, who of course has been there, done it as a player, and has been a great coach in this league as well, understands that himself and will get that message across to this team. Did they want to lose this game? No. But I bet you this loss to the Patriots and for Mike Vrabel is going to be yet another teaching step for him, and being like, That is why they have made AFC championships of recent. This is why they make the playoffs and they win the division every season of recent history. This is why the Bills are who they are, why Josh Allen is who he is, because they've been there, done it. They have a winning understanding and they know what it takes to get over the line, even when things are up against them. There is just something to that you can absolutely hang your hat on and understand that it can overtake at any moment in time to get you over that line.
Quick question for you before we get to game balls and game checks. The Bills have had some fun games this year. The opening night game against the Ravens was just felt like an all timer at the time. I mean, the Ravens has since kind of fallen off, but the Bills got them when they were at their healthiest. The game against the Bengals last week felt like a really fun afternoon, although I think we'll look back on that one historically a little bit less favorably just because of how the Bengals ultimately finished this season with a current 4-10 record. And then today against the Patriots feels like a real tentpole game in this rivalry. And I just would ask you, if you were to rank the Bills games this year on the fun factor, where would today's one rank?
Oh my God. On just this season alone, fun factor, probably put it third. No, you know what? I'll put it second. It's not topping the Ravens game. The Ravens game to me is still number one. The Ravens game is the class of this season, and I don't see how you can seed it. I think the only reason too is like that feels like a game. It feels less important right now if you think of it from a standings aspect and everything. But in my eyes, it's almost even more important. It's set up the failures of the Ravens to truly be behind the eight ball and really start to try to figure it the F out, and they haven't been able to. Whereas that could even be something that the Bills have leaned on with that Bengals game last week, with the Patriots game this week. It's like, we've been here and done it. We can do it. This is the first time they've done it on the road, mind you, in that fashion. But it's like that Ravens game this season alone is top notch. But you know what? I'll put this second. I'll put this above the Bengals game, just because the Bengals game, I just don't think the Bengals, as great as they were playing, we talked about it last week, it didn't feel sustainable once they started to stall out a little bit. So that kind of tip of the scale started happening. And then, of course, it got way away from them real quick. This one is, when it comes to the gotta earn it factor and getting it over the line and doing it against the Patriots, when it's a hat and t-shirt game, I'll give it a tip for being it's got the silver medal for me.
I'd be right there with you. You can't top the Ravens game right now, just for what that felt like, for what it felt like it meant, and what it could still mean ultimately. But I think I'd put it above the Bengals game too. The Bengals game was really, for me, more about like two plays, two really
Yeah.
exciting plays, and an otherwise pretty downer of a game. This one was a holy cow! Like they're doing it, they're doing it. Are they going to do it? Wow, they did it, and those are always fun. All right, Luca, let's get to it. It is time for game balls and game checks. If you're new to this segment, it's where we give a game ball that's pretty obvious to anybody on the Bills not named Josh Allen. We retired the ability to give it to Josh Allen. And Luca and I do not cross over. So if Luca picks somebody, I will not pick that person. And then game check is pretty simple. Whose contribution today was so small that they should hand over their game check? Luca, who gets your game ball for the Bills' victory today over the New England Patriots?
So we talked a little bit off air about this, and I think this might be one of those rare games where there are, I think, a large quantity of game ball recipients that are possible. I'm sure you will rattle off a bunch of them like you normally do, which is perfect. I think I caught you off guard with where I tipped you a little bit on this, but this one feels almost like we saw it once again pay in dividends today, but it feels like something that's been brewing for a while now. And it goes all the way back to the Chiefs game. My game ball goes to Chris Tabor, or I think that's how you say it. It's a special teams coordinator for the Bills. There is something going on with kick returns right now that has clearly been figured out by Chris Tabor. He has something going on that has turned Ray Davis, who was a weekly candidate for our game check segment for his offensive abilities or lack thereof. And he is becoming a all pro returner all of a sudden and finding lanes, being able to burst through them and create very short fields and great opportunities for this offense time and time again. And if you can give Josh Allen a short field, as long as Brandon Cooks doesn't bobble the catch and not get his 2 feet down, you should most likely be able to capitalize in great fashion, as long as, by doing that time and time again. So I just want to give a shout out where it feels appropriate, because we had multiple times where it was a 44-yard drive. We're on the New England 44, we're on the New England 42, on the New England 49. Trying to look here. Yeah, those are the three that were on the plus side. But the kick return game for weeks now has been becoming one of the biggest tools in our bag to really create and flip field position and get great scoring opportunities for this offense time and time again, that you truly feel like it's getting to a point now, Josh, where there's going to probably be a playoff game moment for this team where we let up a score where we lose the lead, or we're losing all of a sudden in that game. But I'm sitting there feeling great. It's like, just put that ball in Ray Davis's hands, make it returnable. That's how good I'm feeling right now about kick returns. And all the credit is, there is something going on to Chris Tabor's formula right now with the kick returns, whether it's, creating seals in a certain fashion with the blocking that he is, cooked up. I'm not sure. I love it though, and keep it up. So yeah, he gets my game ball.
Among kick returners with at least 20 returns this season, Ray Davis leads the way with an average of 32.4 yards. The next closest guy is Isaiah Williams with the Jets at 29.7. So, yeah, Ray Davis has been a bolt of lightning back there at kick return. And there was actually a sequence where he brought the ball out of the end zone. And if you take a knee there when it goes into the end zone, you get at the 35-yard line. And my gut reaction was good. Like, let's force the issue here, because every kickoff return feels like an explosive play. And for all the reasons you just laid out, Ray Davis could have easily been my Game Check Award winner. He's not going to be, but he's absolutely in the conversation. Another guy in the conversation today is Dawson Knox. 3 catches, 37 yards, but 3 big catches. One that set up a touchdown in the first half, and then 2 touchdowns. And that coming on the heels of Dawson Knox and his wife announcing that they had their child over the weekend. Just a fantastic moment with him doing the rock the baby celebration with the ball. You love to see it. Got the game ball from Sean McDermott in the locker room. Again, I want to call out Tre'Davious White. I think he played very well today. When Christian Benford went down, I think a lot of us were thinking, holy cow, what are they going to be able to do against this wide receiver group that ate their lunch last time? Well, the answer was they held them down pretty well. Good enough to know you're going to get maybe your best defensive player back in short order. But my answer for this one's going to be a guy we glowed about earlier, Luka. Matt Milano led the way defensively, 9 tackles, had 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. Thank you, Ramondre Stevenson, for awakening the beast. To Luka's point, if Matt Milano continues to play like this, we should all figure out what Ramondre Stevenson's charity is and donate to it, because you just took Matt Milano from a rotational third down linebacker and unlocked the all-pro version of him. And if that can stay that way, holy cow, it's going to be fun. But Luka, with the good, there's got to be some bad. So who gets your game check for the Bills' performance today?
I honestly struggled a little bit on where I would go with this one. I think, there's some obvious candidates to me, but just for the sake of almost sabotaging this entire effing thing late in the game, AJ Epinesa, dude, just don't lose your edge. Like, your one job is to not over pursue and make sure the cutback isn't there. That's your one. Like, you can just jog to make sure you're still in that space and still available to in the vision, in the peripherals of a runner. So they're like, well, I don't have the cutback. I don't have that. Henderson is running into a pile of dust that has been created by multiple Bills bodies and New England bodies. And you could tell when a switch flipped and he goes, oh, there's no one over there. There's nothing. It's like, oh, I am as you said, one of the fastest players on this field. I'm going to just house this. Props to Drake May, by the way. You don't exactly see quarterbacks 50 yards downfield blocking to make sure that thing gets to the touchdown. It feels weird giving props, but it's one of those things where I was so pissed off. And then it was like, that really was Drake May downfield blocking. Wow. That is shocking. But AJ Epinesa, dude, let's just do your job. Let's not sabotage what could have been losing comeback. Is that the way to put that? I don't know how to put it, but it's like you could have used that could have been deflating to everything. Thank God your quarterback is just a cyborg psycho in all the best way possible, and he was locked the fuck in and just got it done. Because it's like, yeah, you almost screwed that up, AJ. So yeah, you get my game check.
That's fair. I mean, that was if the Bills had lost this game, we would have been watching that play over and over and over again, wondering how. Um, there's like three guys I want to give it to, and they all play the same position, so that you probably can figure out what position group that is. Luka, there was a surprising move to me anyway. I know cover one. I don't. I'm not a cover one insider, but I know Eric Turner tweeted out that cover one insiders had this, and I believe it because when it comes to Gabe Davis, boy, he's been like front and center on any kind of breaking news. But Gabe Davis was inactive today, which is surprising because the last few weeks he's been leading the Bills in routes run and snaps. And that gave an opportunity to several guys. And I speculated that maybe it would give an opportunity to Brandon Cooks. The common thought was it would give an opportunity to Keon Coleman. The reality is it doesn't matter because neither one of those guys recorded a single catch today. And I really want to give both of them a game check because I firmly believe in the spirit of game check, Keon Coleman could have not shown up to the game today and the result would have been exactly the same, if not better. Brandon Cooks, however, is going to get the game check because even though Keon Coleman did nothing, he didn't create a negative play like Brandon Cooks did, which was drop a pass that hits him right in the hands that could have gotten the Bills off to a fast start, which ultimately almost sunk their battleship with how slow they started. I also wanted to mention Joshua Palmer with his false start on 3rd and 4 and then getting to 3rd and 9 and getting off the field. I'd love to go back to this summer and hear about how wonderful Joshua Palmer is. I get it, false starts happen, but if he's as good as everybody says he is, can he not stay on the field on 3rd and 9? Doesn't seem like he's that important when they sub in Tyrell Shavers for him. No disrespect to Tyrell Shavers. So all three of those guys in the conversation, but for today we're going to give it to Brandon Cooks. But I feel like at this point, getting frustrated with the wide receivers is almost like insanity. What am I expecting at this point, Luka?
It's getting to a point, Josh, where in the what was it, the 2023 season, the Game Check Award was the Zach Moss Memorial Award. It might turn into the 2025 Wide Receiver Room Memorial Award. That is what the Game Check. I mean, I believe I've called out the entire receiving core at least twice this season. You are basically saying the same. Props to Shakir for being the leading man, both on targets and receptions, and also leading the team in receiving yards on top of it. Props to you, dude. Finally got a receiver up there in the box score instead of it being all tight ends and running backs. But this game, even with that, Josh, this game did kind of live in between the numbers. The crucial catches, the crucial plays, everything like that. Those boundary receivers and even Shakir for kind of the most part, it didn't matter. They were non-essential. It was like to truly impose our will and get things moving. It was running backs and tight ends. That is how we did things. And once again, that is the path to success for this team on this season. And boy, will I look forward to this upcoming offseason when we hopefully see drastic changes in the receiver room. And maybe we get a dog. Finally, I mean, you and I have been asking for it now for it'll be 3 off seasons this upcoming off season. It's like let's get a dog here. Let's get an alpha. Let's get a guy at least that it's like when it's 3rd and F it, at least that person probably will be open in some capacity.
There was a point today where I was on Twitter and noticed that Mecole Hardman was tweeting supportive of the Bills, like he was getting into it. I love that.
Yeah.
And I realized that McDermott had said this week that he's progressing well and could be back soon. Luka, I found myself excited for Mecole Hardman coming back. At this point,
Yeah.
and I say this in all sincerity, I've seen enough of Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
I've seen enough, quite honestly, of Joshua Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need Curtis Samuel to come back. I'm fine with rolling on with Gabe Davis, Mecole Hardman, Shavers, Shakir, and I guess Cooks, but maybe Palmer. I don't know. Palmer did have a nice route today where he got open, but look at where our standards are at. He had a nice route where he got open. You offline We're excited about Josh, a receiver led them in receiving yards. What is this? Josh Allen is their quarterback, folks. He's maybe the best quarterback in the league and not the best player, if not the best player in the league. And we're ecstatic that a receiver gasped. But anyway, happy day. It is a great win for the Bills. And what's next for the Bills, Luka, is a trip to Cleveland that I think, depending on which side of the ball you want to look at, you could tell yourself this is going to be an easy game. Now, it's going to be interesting because Shador Sanders, for being a fifth-round draft pick, has been the talk of the rookie class in a lot of ways because of the fact that people had him going in the first round. You and I, neither one of us had a first-round grade on him, but I think both you and I thought he was a day two prospect.
Yeah.
Neither one of us saw him falling to the fifth round. But he's been good. I mean, he didn't do well today, but I think we should give him a leash to not play well on the road against a team that a week ago was the number one seed in the NFC.
Yeah.
But really, the story of this game, Myles Garrett. Folks, let's brace ourselves. Myles Garrett might be the best defensive player in the world, and I don't even know why I said might. He is a force. Bad news. He's on pace to break the all-time single-season sack record, and today in Chicago, he tied it.
Yeah.
So I tweeted out from our account that, boy, I feel sorry for whatever team he plays next week. Oops.
Yeah.
That's us. Here's my thought, Luka. Dead serious.
Oh, boy.
First play of the game. Josh Allen rolls out to the left. Deion Dawkins lets Myles Garrett in clean. And Josh Allen falls down. You just give him
stray hand dive.
Stray hand off arm. You know what, buddy? Go celebrate. We're going to stop this game right now. You guys can bring out a podium if you want to. We'll go back to the locker room. In fact, we'll stand there and cheer for you.
I want Drew Brees certificate where they like handed him a certificate randomly in the middle of the game.
Absolutely. Emmitt Smith breaking the all-time rushing record and then losing 3 yards on his next carry. And it's like, do they need to like run the fireworks again? No, I don't need Myles Garrett playing every snap like his life is on the line next week. So let's go ahead and get that one out of the way early. Let's give him the golf clap. I freaking love Myles Garrett, by the way. So I don't care if that comes against the Bills. I love him. I love him getting that record because he's a dynamite player in a terrible situation. But as soon as he gets that record, I do think that I don't need him chasing that record in the fourth quarter if the game happens to be close. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, the good news is, I mean, it's time for you to expect it not to be close. It's one of those ones where I don't hate this thought at all. I fully expect Myles Garrett to just be an absolute game wrecker this entire game. I loved I had NBC's pregame on for a stretch there, where they did their one corny segment where they call a player or whatever it is. And it was Deion Dawkins was the player they called after they rolled the highlights of the Bills Patriots game. And McCourty ends the conversation with, are you ready for Garrett next week? And you could tell Deion Dawkins, and he did it in his classic, Schno personality, doing all this different stuff. He is not looking forward to this fucking game. Any offensive tackle should not be looking forward to seeing 95 of the Browns across from them. That is a problem. That is not what you want to see. And I will say, if they line him up against our right side and stunt him in with Osiris Torrance missing like he loves to do on any sort of edge stunt in, boy, Josh, you better be ready to roll to your left. Get out of there. If you see Myles, I almost want it should be like a hot check. Like you see Myles Garrett on the right side of you, you're doing something that's having you roll out to the left. Just get out of there, because if he stunts in and he gets clearance inside on you, you're dead. So he's going to break it. I think it was also Phil Simms on a hit, or maybe it was Boomer Esiason. It was someone I saw randomly on a hit where they were talking about Myles Garrett, and he goes, he truly is someone I haven't seen anything like since Bruce Smith even. And he's like, I have a lot of respect for Bruce Smith. Bruce Smith might have one of the best bends in NFL history. He'd have his shoulder 6 inches off the ground and get around that edge unlike anyone else. He's like, Myles Garrett has that in his bag too. He can do everything and anything. He might be the greatest defensive player in the history of this game. He is just that dominant, that consistent with it. And when you do it even on that bad of a team where your opportunities to rush a passer are so minimal, that is even the cherry on top of it all, where it's like, holy shit, this guy is different. And it's you mentioned he's just an elite player on a bad situation. I don't even put it in the Joe Thomas category, because it's like, you did have your out buddy when you publicly said you wanted to be on a winning team, and then you kind of tucked tail and were like, wait, I'm sorry, 40 million?
How much
Oh,
money?
okay. That sounds good. Which, look, take $40 million. There's probably not even 4 other teams that are capable of paying you that money and rostering a decent roster in the first place. Anyways, you take the money when it's presented to you. But yeah, I don't fault him too much, or I don't feel too bad for him. Again, you want to see great players be successful. I think anyone that watches sports, they want that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like, perspective is everything. And it's like, you did take the bag to stay there. So you understood what you were getting involved in, when it's like, how do we keep losing these games? Even though I have 4 sacks, 5 sacks, whatever it is, it's like, well, buddy, you have Shadur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, the corpse of whatever Deshaun Watson is in practice right now. Like, you just, you know, you're not going to get anything special to support you, regardless of how elite you are. So, yeah, that's just the reality of it. So even with how, looking ahead for the Bills' sake, with how great Myles Garrett is, with how great that defense is, I mean, that might be a top 3, top 4 defense in this league easily. Yeah, this should be a game, hopefully, where even if Myles Garrett's still in there, Josh, it should be Mitch Trubisky under center across from him, hopefully by early to mid 4th quarter.
You would absolutely hope so. All right, Luka. Let's mention really quickly the Chiefs have been officially eliminated from the
Woo!
playoffs. It does stink that Mahomes has
Yeah,
reportedly torn his ACL. It's been a rough day in the league. Devontae Adams had a bad hamstring pull. It seems like Micah
Micah Parsons.
Parsons'
Yeah.
season could be over. I don't know if that's been officially announced yet. Mahomes' season is obviously over, and now it's just a matter of when will he be able to come back. But this dream playoff scenario that we've been hoping about, which is the Bills without Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. 2 of the 3 are officially out. And if I had the ability to play this song, I would. Ding dong, the witch is dead. It is nice to have the Chiefs out of the way. Their fans are crashing out. We love to see it. I know. Scoreboard, you have three rings and 4 playoff victories over the Bills, but guess what? Not going to happen this season, because you got to get there to win it, and can't relate to not making the playoffs. All right, Luka, what's next for us is a live show on Wednesday as we preview this Browns game. I will say we are getting to the point of the calendar where I would say be flexible with our schedules. We're getting close to Christmas, almost certainly next week, the week after, leading up to the Jets game, Christmas Eve. Like, I feel like we can go ahead and just like cancel that live show. But we'll see what we can do. I love the live shows, and who knows what's going on. But we'll do the live show this week, somehow, some way, for the Browns game. Still a big game. And then did I actually have that wrong? It goes
It's the
not
Eagles
Jets,
week.
it's the
Yeah,
Eagles. So yeah, okay. We'll make it work somehow, I think. And
maybe.
then next week I will be live at halftime for Bills Browns. I've been asking for this for weeks, and it just hasn't come through. But like, I feel like this needs to be a happy halftime. If Shador Sanders is high stepping off the field at halftime, I might just go bang my head against the wall. But and then Luca and I'll be back for Browns Bills post game, whenever that may be. But we know what it'll be. It'll be Monday. It'll be Monday when it hits. I'm thinking in my head when we're going to record it. You guys don't have to worry about that, but it'll be on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. But for Luca, I am Josh McCarty. And for our special guest at halftime today, my son Devin, go check it out. He made his first appearance. Bills beat the Patriots. They don't win the division, but they get a little bit closer, and it was a sweet victory. Thanks for listening to Bills Chat. We'll talk to you next week.